David Shapiro is in the studio on a day when the JSE All-Share Index rocketed towards the close, but it's probably for technical reasons.
Some of it's technical reason. Markets are up despite all the bad news. Motor vehicle sales in the United States down 40%, expecting a horror employment report tomorrow, more jobs being lost. So wherever you look, even our PMI, you heard
You've been
Chris,
reading your tabloids.
Yeah.
Horror.
I like that. I made that word up.
I'm thinking about it all afternoon. But David, nearly 2% better on the JSE today.
Sure.
Pretty good going.
The technical reasons is that we couldn't get the indices throughout the day. And I think there might have been catch-up with some of the futures players. But platinum shares strong, gold shares strong. But I must say that even the index stocks were up as well. We saw infrastructure stocks going up very strongly, and also a lot of financial stocks that don't make up part of the indices, also up. So I think overall the bulls on a rampage. But Alec, I don't know, for whatever reason, I enjoy it, and I'm not going to stop them. But it's very, very difficult to justify it in terms of fundamentals.
And some of the underlying companies and the big movements you're seeing there, Meta down 22%. It was a big mover last week. AstraPac down 18%.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you'll have a company like Blue Financial Services, which jumped again 12% today. It's all over the place.
It is, and I don't think investors know where to go. The strangest move today, which supports what I've been saying, is that ArcelorMittal came out and reduced steel prices between 5 and 8%. Now, I think this is the third one in as many months, and I think steel prices now off about 40% from their peak, and the share price went up 10%. So how do you reconcile that? And you try and put something, say, why did they push it up? You try and find the reason. I couldn't find any reason why they should have pushed the share up that much.
Two of the stocks that we've been following on this program have done incredibly well. So those buying tips certainly helped. Old Mutual, I see, is well into the sevens now. And MTN back above 100 Rand. In fact, nearly 110 Rand.
Well, you saw what happened with Old Mutual. Some of them have increased their shareholding to above 3%, and I suppose they're starting to buy more. That came out yesterday.
It must be somewhat irksome for the people in Pines.
Yeah, no, they've got 168 million shares, and they've got the money to buy it as well. I think it's coming from Koki's crowd, that from Sanlam Investment Management. So
no takeover coming.
Well, they obviously see value there. And MTN, I think, just into Africa. Outstanding
Post those
results.
They're coming through. Well, our Felicity Duncan is not in Africa, but in London, looking ahead to the G20 meeting. You didn't hopefully get caught up in the fracas that appears to have happened on the streets there, Felicity?
I saw some of it, but from a distance, and I decided not to go too much closer. But the city is really in lockdown mode, particularly since Obama arrived last night. Just police everywhere and a lot of very anxious people.
G20 meeting is coming out tomorrow as the beginning, is it?
Yes, that's right. Tomorrow's meeting starting quite early, just outside in the east of London.
And what is likely at this late stage to be coming out of it? Presumably not a laundry list, but at least something to encourage the world that we can get out of this difficult time.
Yeah, it's been very interesting. There's been so much grandstanding coming out, especially out of Europe, with the French President Sarkozy saying he's not going to attend, if he doesn't get his way, all kinds of things like that. So I think that a lot of people who initially were very optimistic about what could come out of this are now starting to be a little more concerned that perhaps the differences are too great between the parties. I think in all likelihood what we can really hope for is some sort of reform at the IMF, and hopefully a doubling of the allocation to the IMF to help bail out countries in trouble. Perhaps some guideline on some principles for international banking and finance regulation. And if we're very, very lucky, a firm statement in favor of completing the Doha round and keeping the globalization trend going so that we don't see a retreat to protectionism.
The Doha round all to do with trade, and if the world were to, or countries were to retreat back into a protectionist mode in this kind of environment, well, then the fears or the spectre of the 1930s and the Great Depression, I suppose, would become very real.
Absolutely, and there's already been, I can't remember the precise number, but among the G20 countries, since the summit they had last year in Washington, there have already been dozens and dozens of protectionist measures enacted. So it's not a completely irrational fear, and I think a lot of business people, especially, will be hoping that the meeting comes out with a firm statement in favor of freer trade.
Felicity Duncan is MoneyWeb's head of editorial.